For the moms barely holding it together.
Motherhood isn't perfect.
Neither are we. Welcome to What the Motherhood.
Hey guys, welcome back to What the Motherhood. On today's episode, let's really get deep down emotional and let's finally talk about the truth about mom guilt. So I wanted to touch on today's topic. I know Jackie wanted to touch on today's topic. She gave a more personal experience when it comes to her mom guilt right now and what she's going through, and that's going to be on episode 5. But right now, today on episode 4, let's just talk about what is mom guilt. Some moms may know what it is. Some moms may not even think, oh my gosh, that's how I've been feeling. Oh my gosh, I do feel guilty. Or you never know. So let's talk about it. When it comes to mom guilt, right, it could be many things. It could be, you're a stay-at-home mom and you feel like all you do is cook and clean, drop the kids off, pick the kids up. But, you come to some type of realization where you're like, that's all I do. I don't get to spend time with my kids, play, catch outside with my son, or, learn TikTok dance routines with my daughter, or simply sit down for 5-10 minutes with my toddler and be able to go ahead and go over his ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, or his colors and shapes. Like, I feel guilty. Next thing you know, months pass by, then years pass by, and then you sit there, and as they're getting older, your guilt feels heavier. You feel like, oh my gosh, I forgot I told him this, and it's already been, this amount of time that passed. Or, oh my gosh, my toddler's already 3. Like, where did time go? Like, how does he know how to talk? Like, was I one that helped him, or was it school? How does he know his ABCs? Like, I never taught him that, school did. And it starts to hit you like a big wave of just guilt. Like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so busy, even though you feel like you're putting your priorities first, which is obviously work, paying the bills, making sure, they have a roof over their head, making sure the food is in the fridge, making sure, they get to school on time, making sure they have stuff for school, clothes, shoes, all that, that is very important. But I feel like a lot of that time is on our mind. And instead of sitting back and saying, you know what, I could go to the store tomorrow when the kids are in school, while I pick them up at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. up until, 9, 10 o'clock bedtime, whatever it is. I want to play a card game with my kids. I want to do Monopoly, Uno. I want to, sit down and do word searches. I want to spend, 15 minutes with each one individual, like we think that spending 15 minutes of our time with our kids individually is going to take away from what we have to do, cleaning, laundry, dishes, blah, 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 grocery store, whatever it is, right? I know I can speak for myself. I feel like there's already not enough time in the day. So when I would love to sit down with my kids and, give them 15 minutes of my time and spend time and ask them how their day was and stuff like that. But while I'm sitting there, or, I think when I sit there, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I didn't pay this bill. Like, oh my goodness, I forgot to go to the damn grocery store. Oh my gosh, these dishes need to get freaking done. Like, my mind is constantly spinning, and I don't want to give them that type of energy, if that makes sense. I want to give them my full undivided attention, no distractions, but also I need to realize that I do have a toddler. So giving 15 minutes to my son and 15 minutes to my daughter, it's going to be very hard because, toddlers don't understand boundaries, yet. They don't understand time management. They don't understand, like, hey, it's Sissy's turn, his brother's turn, your turn's next, and I feel like, I tend to just say, okay, next tomorrow. Okay, this weekend I'm gonna take them somewhere, here. Okay, this weekend my daughter wants to go, sell her clothes at the store that, refurbishes clothes, and, I gotta do that. And next, it's already been like 6 days since I told her that. And she always reminds me, just like, shit, I'm so sorry, baby. I am so sorry, or the fact that my son doesn't have his dad here. So, there's no way to go out there and play catch with and stuff like that, because if I go outside, then the toddler want to go with me, and you know what I mean? So it's like, I want to do all these amazing things and spend time with my kids, but I feel like I talk myself, I don't want to say out of it, but talk myself as in like, okay, you know what? Tomorrow I'll do it. Tomorrow I'll do it. And no, I should be like, no, Alyssa, right now, drop what the fuck you're doing. And if you see your son sitting on his bed, or you see your son in his room, or you see your son just kind of moping around the house or looking bored, you stop what the fuck you're doing and you, God damn it, look at him and appreciate him. You know what I mean? Because I feel like by the time we realize this stuff already, they're already old and teenagers, like pushing 18. And then next thing you know, you're never going to see them. And Jackie touched on this, when she shares her thought of, her own mom guilt. She literally said the same thing. Like, my son is literally almost 18 years old. And his whole life I've been fucking telling him, yes, we will. And it's almost like gone. You know what I mean? Like the childhood is gone. And, it definitely made me realize that. Recently, even I always notice it, but it's just hitting me harder because I feel like, yes, my son doesn't have his dad, so I need to make it more of an importance to make sure that I do things with him that he likes, that he enjoys. Like I haven't taken him to the monster truck jam since he was like 8. I haven't taken him to, what we used to do. I don't know, like just so many things, like go-kart riding. I haven't taken him to, like things like that we used to do when he was younger. And I'm like, dude, he's literally in high school and football's going to take over his life for the next, 3 years. And I'm not going to have an opportunity to do all the things that I want to do with him because I kept putting it off, and I just wanted to know that I love him and I want to spend more time with him. And I feel like, he's so depressed from his dad coming in and out of his life that he doesn't want to do anything fun anymore, because when it was fun, it was fun. And now I feel like every time we have fun, I want to go do something fun, I feel like it reminds him that his dad's not here, or like I don't know. I just, maybe it's me. I don't know. He doesn't talk to me, but I feel like that's because I never spent enough time with him recently, the past couple of years. And I feel like I'm just always on the go, especially with, Damien, the toddler. And then Ava and I always go shopping. She always wants to go with me to run errands. She goes with me to Target and Walmart and the grocery store and this and that. And, she's constantly with me, whereas Noah's not. So I just feel like, recently I told Noah I was going to take him to, Bear Drips on Fairfax in LA. And it's where, you get like a ceramic bear, but there's this plastic, and you get 3 different paints, and you drip the paint all over him. And he's been wanting to do that for like years now. And since we moved into this house about a year ago, he's been talking about it. So I think it was in December of last year, I told him, I have a surprise for you. It's going to be a mommy and son date, and I'm going to take you and you're going to love it. And I just never did it up until like a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks now. I finally did it because my mom literally called me and said, Liz, you know what? Bring Ava and Damien over this weekend, because I know you've been wanting to take Noah, spend time with him, and you've been wanting to take him to that bear thing in LA. So bring Ava and Damien over and I will watch him. I will watch him or watch them while you and Noah go have your date that you've been wanting to take Noah to. And if she would have never called me, I would have never said, you know what, let's plan it this weekend, because I feel like they're my kids and I don't want nobody else to watch them because they have their own life, But I also know that, I don't have anybody else, and I do need help when it comes to watching the kids, especially if I want one-on-one time with them. I do need my mom's help, because she wasn't there when I was younger, or when they, Noah and Ava, the older ones, were younger. She's been here since Damien's been born, 3 years, and it's been amazing. But I didn't have that when Noah and Ava were younger, So I need to take advantage of that now so that I'm able to make up for the lack of time that I haven't spent with Noah and Ava, especially Noah. And I just feel so guilty for allowing life to control what's important and what's not. I got so caught up with, obviously getting the house, and obviously now we have a mortgage, and we got to pay electricity, we got to pay water, we got to pay trash, we got to pay gas. It's so many more bills than where I was a year and a half ago, in our townhome where I was paying rent and everything was included except for electricity. So my rent was only $1,200. My electricity was like $50-$60, right? Compared to now moving to a house with the, $3,200 mortgage, plus electricity, plus gas, plus water, plus this. It's so much more money that I allowed life to kind of, I guess, brainwash me into making that my main focus. And I feel like I love our house. I enjoy our house. And I'm so glad I was able to do this by myself for my kids as a single mom of 3. But I feel guilty when I wake up in my house. I feel like it has taken so much of my time and attention that I stopped doing all those fun, cool things with the kids because we don't have time anymore, or we don't have that much money anymore because everything's more expensive than it was, 12 years ago, and I just feel like a heavy guilt. Like all I'm doing is just trying to stay above water, trying to make my kids' childhood a remembering one, a fun one where they said, man, mom did this and da-da-da, instead of being like, oh, mom never had time for us. Or, my mom always said she was going to do this for us, but she always forgot. That's going to break my heart because I'm busting my ass off to make sure I give my kids everything I never had and some, And so I never want my kids to feel like I forgot intentional, or, oh, mom couldn't do it because we didn't have any money, or, oh, mom promised me this, but she forgot because she has so much other things to do. I never want that. I don't ever want any of my kids to feel they are less than another, and I think that also just weighs heavy on me because it's like I work from home. I do everything from home, from real estate to trading to, social media to everything in between. I do everything from home. And because of that, it's like, yes, I guess I am a stay-at-home mom, but when I'm home, I'm working and I'm cleaning. And when they come home, I'm very tired, I'm frustrated, I don't want to make dinner, and it's like, I can't do that. And again, that goes back to, another episode we're going to have, episode 6, where it comes to, juggling work, life, school, kids, motherhood, and trying to figure out time management, when to go ahead and do bills, when to go ahead and go to the stores, and when to go ahead and spend family nights, either Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sundays, and that's going to be on episode 6. But for this one, I feel guilty. I feel so guilty, and it just weighs heavy on me every day, and it makes me angry. And then I start to, lash out. Look at the kitchen. I'm like, God damn it, the fucking kitchen's not fucking clean. And I'm an OCD freak. And for the past month, I feel like I have been letting this house go, and where I like to mop and clean the floor twice a day and vacuum 50 billion times a day. And I feel like for the past month, I haven't done that. So when we're walking around barefooted and I see Damien's feet dirty or my feet dirty, it makes me so furious because I get mad at myself. Like, what have you been doing all goddamn day that you can't freaking mop these damn floors to where the house is so clean your toddler could, crawl and walk on the floor and not have dirty knees or feet? And to me, it's like, I start to beat myself up, and then I see my older kids, and then they're just hanging out on the couch or their rooms and their beds. And, it makes me angry. Like, get up, help out around here, fucking A, And then it makes me feel like shit because I'm yelling at them and I'm angry at them. And I'm such a baby because I cry on every fucking podcast, but because it's so emotional, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to be that mom who's angry all the fucking time and who yells all the time. They're like, oh my God, here she fucking goes. Oh my God, where they just bleep, they bleep me out of their ears so they don't hear me fucking bitching or nagging. But it's then I tell myself, fuck, I feel like they're old enough. They could help out. And Alyssa, you're one parent and there's 3 of them. You can't fucking clean the kitchen and then do the dishes and do laundry and mop the floor and wipe down the counters and, clean the fridge and wipe down the freaking countertops, the cabinets, and you can't, wipe down the dining room table. You can't freaking, clean the living room, dust everything off the tables, mop and sweep there. You can't clean both bathrooms yourself, mop and clean, and do all that. You can't clean your room on top of Damien's room, and take care of the dog. It's you can't do all of that while raising 3 kids. So if you have 2 teenagers, yeah, they better get their fucking ass up and start helping and having some responsibility, which they have chores, but when it's during school time, it's so freaking hard for them to do chores because they come home tired. Ava's a football manager, so she does the whole waters and brings out the boys' equipment for the whole football teams, for the varsity and for the freshmen and for the JV. So, so they go to school from 8 in the morning to around 3:30, and then football from 4 to 7:30 at night, Monday through Friday. So they come home and they're tired, and I'm tired. I'm just like, fuck, nothing got done today. I couldn't do my fucking chore, which is the kitchen, because I had to fucking work all day in a day. You guys can't do the bathrooms in the living room or keep your rooms clean because you guys been at school a fucking day. So by the time that we even get anything done, it's supposed to be on Sunday, deep clean Sunday. And we're just exhausted from the week where we don't do laundry or clean Sunday. And then it just kind of packs on and it makes me angry. And then I do these outbursts. And then I feel like such a fucking shitty mom. I feel like I am just the worst mom ever because I'm yelling, I'm bitching, and I'm making them do, chores that I could have done when they were at school. And I think it brings me back to when I was younger, I was so scared of my mom that my sister and I had to make sure the house was so spick and span or we were going to have a punishment, And I don't punish my kids. I don't like to take away their things. I don't like to physically, harm them in any way, whether it's a little pow or whatever. But I feel like when I was younger, when we knew mom was coming home around 5:30, the house had to be clean. There had to be no dishes. Floor had to be swept and mopped. Everything had to be done. The bathrooms had to be cleaned. Everything had to be done. And I feel like maybe I'm just traumatized by doing that, because I feel like, mom's still coming, I'm the mom now. This shit needs to be fucking done. And it just makes me feel guilty because I remember feeling like that. Why do I have so much responsibility at a young age? My sister and I were washing dishes at 4 or 5 years old, and it never stopped at that point. And I don't want my kids to feel that way. I just want them to learn responsibility. But I feel that mom guilt is I'm talking to myself, trying to justify Alyssa. You yelled at them because A, B, C, D. But then the other side of me is Alyssa, relax. It's not that serious, if there's 6-7 dishes in the sink, you can wash it when you have 5-10 minutes, or Alyssa, let the kids relax, when they come home from school, and then, figure out, figure out a time where they could go ahead and just, spend 5-10 minutes to pick up, the living room. As long as they pick it up every day, deep clean Sunday, then it should be good and clean and well kept up, And I feel like I feel certain ways and I try to justify why I feel them, or I try to give myself excuses on why I did what I did or said what I said. And I just feel, again, like a shitty mom. I feel like no matter what I do, I just feel like a bad mom. But I know I'm a good mom, and I know I have great intentions. I know I don't mean to ever emotionally harm or damage my kids, or physically harm or damage my kids, and do anything to where I traumatize them to where they hate me. But I feel like I have to be more stern, again, because I am a single parent household, and I don't want them to go to college and be those lazy, nasty, college students who can't even, separate their clothes from, blacks to colors. They put whites with colors, or they put blacks with colors, or they wash their towels with their clothes. I don't want them to be those kids, But I feel like everything I do, I just feel guilty. Either staying here at home, being able to even be at home and work from home, I feel guilty for that. I feel like I should be out there in an office and doing work from 9 to 5, but that's just not me. And I feel guilty that when I'm actually fully working and invested in all of our, businesses, I feel like the kids know when I'm working, don't bug me. And I don't like that, but I need to figure out how I can work literally when they're from school, and when they get out, it's solely mom and kid time. I do not want to work past when I pick them up at 7:30. I want it from that time until their bedtime. I want it to be just our time. But it's so hard when you are an influencer, when your whole life and income revolves around social media. You have to constantly keep posting and making content, and it's just the life and the business that we are in. There is no 9 to 5, and it sometimes makes me think, do I want this? Why don't I just go back into a full real estate office and just be a regular basic real estate agent instead of an investor? Why don't I just, do that instead of being a content creator or being, an investor or, or day trading in the morning? You know what I mean? There's so many things that cross my mind, but I look at what we have and I am grateful because I've done it by myself. And I'm grateful that I'm able to give my kids what they have, because I didn't, my dad wasn't able to give us a house up until I was like 12, 13. And we always lived in apartments or lived with somebody else, And so, we were in that house for a couple of years up until, I think 7 years, I think we lived in that house. And then obviously I grew up and, I was out of the house very soon, because I was just a rebellious teenager. But like I didn't grow up in a house. I didn't, have my own room and things like that up until I was, obviously a young teen, well, a preteen, I guess, like 13, 14, 15. And, and I want the kids to have their own house and their own rooms and things like that. And so looking back at what I have accomplished by myself, I'm like, you know what, Alyssa? No, fuck that. Don't feel guilty about shit. Don't feel guilty about anything you do, anything you say, because you know what? You have fucking provided for the past fucking 16 goddamn years by yourself. You have gotten everything your kids wanted by yourself. And I try to boost myself up, but then again, it comes the whole, like devil on my shoulder, like, yes, but you don't have to yell at them like this. Yes, but you don't have to be on their ass and, so aggressive when it comes to them not picking up their socks or Ava's room, dirty, or Noah, not doing his clothes. And now he's complaining he doesn't have clothes for school week, like it's not that serious, Alyssa. It's not that serious. But I feel like, again, trauma when I was younger, everything has to be done. It has to be done no matter what. So get it done. That's the mindset I have. And I need to just, I don't know. How do we cope with life and bills and work and making sure that we give our kids enough time where they feel seen, wanted, appreciated, loved? And I just feel, again, I'm going to cry because I feel like my son doesn't feel seen, loved, or appreciated. And I love him and I see him and I appreciate him, but he just walks around so sad, I feel. But he always says, Mom, I'm fine. Mom, I'm fine. I'm happy, Mom. Like, everything's okay, Mom. But I see it. I see it that he feels alone. And I don't like that because I remember how that felt. And I see my daughter, I feel like she's just still self-conscious, and everybody's like, oh my God, your mom's so pretty, your mom's a baddie, your mom's this and that, what happened to you? And they make more comments, and I know it bugs her. And I feel like I want her to be herself. I want her to be beautiful because she is absolutely a beautiful fucking person. So loving and caring. And I feel like, what can I do to make them feel loved? What can I do more of? Because I feel like everything I'm giving them is just fucking physical shit. Physical things. And I don't want it to be physical. I want it to be emotional. I want it to come from somewhere where they enjoy, I want to go paintballing with my son, but fuck, I don't want to get bruises, but is that a risk I'm willing to take? I mean, fuck, yeah, but what if he hates me and wants to shoot me to hurt me? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but, oh, God, it's just, I look at their baby pictures when they were younger, and all they do is smile because they're so fucking happy, and then you look at their pictures now, and they just look miserable and sad, and I feel guilty because I feel like that's my fault. It's my fault, and I feel like it's my fault because I allowed their dad to come in their life, do the domestic violence, which ruined everything. And since that day and that year of 2020, it's just been a completely like smile now, cry later, where they used to smile and now all they're doing is crying, like it's just a sad face all the time. And I look at the pictures and I'm just like, how can I get those happy kids back? How can I get my son to smile like how he was when he was younger? How can I get my daughter to feel beautiful like how she did when she was younger? How can I get them to help me do different things with their brother? Whatever I did with them, whatever I fucked up with them so far, I want them to tell me, Mom, don't do this to Damien, or do this with Damien, or try this, And again, I just feel so fucking guilty because of I just feel like I have to work so much harder and make that my priority, my focus, other than them. And I don't want to do that. I don't want life and responsibility, like bills and stuff, to overpower my kids. But I guess that's just this episode, and I don't know if you guys can relate. I don't know if you guys are going through the same thing. Like I said, Noah's 15, gonna be 16 in a couple months. Ava, is 14. She's in high school at a younger age. Because she finished elementary a lot sooner because she's a smarty pants. And Damien's gonna be 3, and it's just, if you guys have the same age or you guys have similar age groups, like, what do you guys do? How do you guys feel? Like, what, I don't know. I just feel like we need to make our kids priorities. As much as we need to focus on bills and work, I feel like nowadays us parents are so focused on failing and so focused on making sure that everything's paid so that we don't have foreclosure notices or that we're not, homeless or thrown out on the streets. I feel like we forget that all our kids need are just 5, 10, 15 minutes every day of our time, our attention, our love. Cuddle, lay down, watch a movie, play a game, read a book, help them with their homework, give them a kiss on their forehead, pick up a snack when you pick them up from school. Something so small can mean so much to them, and I lost sight of that. I lost sight of that many years ago, and yeah, I feel guilty. So I definitely got to get that back because my kids deserve more than what I have been giving them. Even though I've been giving them, a lot of materialistic things, they need more emotional things. And I got to figure out how to juggle everything and get that back and make them my main priority. Their emotions, my main priority. So until next time, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. I hope you guys can relate. Until next time.
If today's episode hit you and you felt seen, understood, or like we were speaking your life, show us some love. You could support our podcast by sending just $1 to our Cash App, What the Motherhood. It's our way of knowing we're reaching the moms who really need this. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next episode.